Hello, 5th and 6th grade. This is your history video for Monday, October 19th, and we're looking forward to a test on Wednesday for history. And so today, the reading that you're going to be doing is pages 69 to 73, so let's go ahead and turn there. If you look at your work text, which is page 53, we're talking about a place called Cush. And Cush was a place that actually took over England in a little bit later time. So 65 to 68. Actually, not 65, 68, 69 to 73. We'd already done this before. And so 69 to 73, one of the first areas here that we're talking about. So you got 5 pages worth of reading, but you got a map and you got other things that are going on there as well. The next lesson tomorrow, the work text pages will be 55, 56. If you wanted to get a jump start on that, remember all of your worksheets can be used for your test, and so you want to make sure you get those filled out correctly. And so we'll go ahead and start with the reading, which starts on page number 69. Cush, along the Nile River to the south of Egypt, was a land called Cush. The name Cush is known from ancient Egyptian artifacts and writings and is also found in the Bible. During the Roman period, this area was referred to as Nubia, the Egyptian word for gold. Just as the Nile was vital to Egypt's survival, it was also very important to the survival of Cush. Many of the Cushite villages depended on the Nile for food, water, transportation, and trade. Cushite culture. The Cushites lived in farming villages where the people were either farmers or animal herders. Like the Egyptians, they used the shaduf and an irrigation system to be able to farm more land. A water wheel was introduced later from Asia. In the southern part of Cush, the villagers raised cattle on the savanna, a grassy plain. The people of Cush had an abundance of natural resources, including gold, copper, fertile soil, ebony, which is a dark hard wood, and ivory. The Cushites' diet was more limited than the Egyptians' diet because Cush had less fertile ground for farming. The Cushites grew barley, wheat, sorghum, and a variety of vegetables. They ate fish, beef, and birds. Hippopotamus, ostrich, and turtle were delicacies that the people enjoyed on special occasions. The Cushites also grew cotton to make cloth. Now, if you go over there to your worksheet, you find out, like Egypt, Cush depended on the what for food and water. It was the Nile for food, water, and then the 2 other things that it depended on. Like Egypt, they used a blank and a blank to farm more land. We talked about those tools that they used. Cush had an abundance of, and these are the things that we just read above there, which was abundance of the natural resources, and those are the 2 blanks there, and then you can list those resources. It says, so we're getting to the next part here. The Cushites used palm wood for bricks and building. They fashioned pottery out of clay. They were also skilled hunters. They used the bow and arrow to hunt elephants, lions, leopards, and panthers. Elephants were tamed and used for work. Sometimes the Cushites traded animals with other civilizations, and so you have a wall painting of the tomb of Amenhotep, who is the viceroy, similar to a vizier, I guess you could say, of Cush, showing Nubians bringing tribute to the pharaoh. All right, and then on the next page, on page 70, and it says this. It says, like women in the Egyptian civilization, women in Cush held a variety of roles. There were female warriors as well as queens and priestesses. But, as in Egypt, women were still the primary caregivers for the children and maintained the households. The people of Cush developed 2 systems of written language. One system was a form of hieroglyphics similar to the Egyptian hieroglyphics. The other system was a form of script, or handwriting, symbols that look like letters. This script used a limited number of symbols to form words. The script language was later called Meroitic. It was named after the people of Meroe, the ancient city where the language was first used. Scholars have been able to decipher only a little of the Meroitic language. The Cushites, like the Egyptians, were polytheistic in their religion. They pictured their primary god, Amun, with a head like a sheep's. The architecture of their pyramids and temples is also similar to those found in Egypt. History of Cush. Cush began as a strong village. As it gradually extended its power and conquered smaller villages around it, Cush developed into a civilization. The people of Cush established Kerma as a capital city. Kerma began trading goods with Egypt. The 3 main settlements in Cush were Kerma, Napata, and Meroe. Napata was the capital of Cush for many years. Napata was the main trading center and was where many tombs were built. Pyramids in ancient Cush were not built for just the pharaoh. Many pyramids were constructed for priests and high-ranking noblemen. Unfortunately, many tombs and temples of ancient Cush are covered by Lake Nasser. As the Cushites became wealthier and more numerous, the Egyptians began to fear their growing power. During Egypt's Middle Kingdom, the pharaoh led his army to invade Cush. The Egyptians completely destroyed Kerma and conquered Cush. Over time, Cush adopted the Egyptian culture. The Cushites dressed like the Egyptians, worshipped the Egyptian gods, and changed the Egyptian hieroglyphics to fit their own language. Now, if you look here, you're gone through as the Cushites became blank and more numerous. The Egyptians feared their growing what? Power. Or the growing, no, that wasn't power. What was it? It was the completed, for the growing power. No, it was power. Okay. And so the Cush developed two systems of written language to form a form of blank and a script called blank. And so those, they were right there on that same page. Cush developed into the civilization with settlements as are at, and it gives you the places, the three places where they had settlements right here listed on that page in that second paragraph on the right. Then Cush was conquered by Egypt, and over time, people of Cush adopted and it says there at the beginning, the Egyptian culture. All right, and okay, all right. So then, now we're going to get into the last two here on these other parts. Now, on the next page, you've got a map of where Cush existed at the time. You notice it's further south than where Egypt and Cairo and all the capitals and the places where they were a little bit more centered before, where Egypt was centered. So here you have the location. Ancient Cush was located in northeastern Africa along the Nile River in northern Sudan, which is what Sudan is today. Sudan is bordered by Egypt to the north, the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Uganda, and Kenya to the south, the Red Sea, Eritrea, and Ethiopia to the east, and Libya and Chad to the west. The climate: Sudan has hot, dry summers with moderate winters. Temperatures range from 100 degrees in the summer to 55 in the winter. The northern part of the land has little or no rainfall, while the southern part has a rainy season. That all has to do with topography of it. The land is dominated by the Nile River and 5 of its 6 cataracts. To the east and west of the Nile is desert. The southern region is savanna. Natural resources. The land's greatest natural resource is water from the Nile River. Other resources include gold, ivory, ebony, and iron ore. All right, so we have 2 more pages here to read, or 1 more page here to read, and page 72. Oh, actually, we do have 2 more, page 73. So it says that floods and droughts have been a part of Egypt's entire history. When the Nile River flooded, it often destroyed the land and the crops. Throughout history, Egyptians desired to control the water of the annual floods. In the late 1890s, while Egypt was under British rule, construction on a dam began. This dam was completed in 1902. It was located near the border of Egypt and Sudan. The dam helped control the annual flooding and held water in a reservoir for later release. Over the next 30 years, the height of the dam was raised, and hydroelectric generators were added. By the 1940s, the height of the dam needed to be raised again. Instead, the decision was made to build a second dam further upstream. After 10 years of construction, the Aswan High Dam was completed in 1970. The first dam, known as the old Aswan Dam, remained but has limited function. The Aswan High Dam formed a large man-made lake, Lake Nasser. The water in this reservoir began covering many of the temples, tombs, and villages of ancient Kush. Archaeologists from other countries helped save as many artifacts as they could before the area was completely flooded. The temples at Abu Simbel were moved to higher ground. Many other monuments were documented before the lake waters covered them. Not everyone approves of the dam. Silt gets caught behind the dam, so the area below the dam no longer receives rich nutrients for farming. Fertilizers had to be used instead. The dam also has affected fishing because some fish fed on the silt in the water. Therefore, the dam has caused the fish population to decrease, which has affected people downstream who depended on the fish for food. All right, and so the very last page here, Egypt dominated the Kushites for about 500 years. But toward the end of Egypt's new kingdom, Cush became stronger. Egypt eventually lost control, and the Kushites established their independence. The Kushite king became known as a pharaoh, and Napata became the capital. Under the rule of Philae, Cush conquered Egypt. Cush ruled Egypt for about 40 years. In the mid-600s BC, the Assyrians invaded Egypt. The Assyrians had the advantage of iron weapons, and the Kushites were unable to defend Egypt. The Assyrians drove out the Kushites, who returned to their homeland. The Kushites established a new capital at Meroe. In the surrounding areas, they discovered iron ore deposits. Iron became a valuable item to make weapons and tools for their own use, as well as for trade with other civilizations. Kush exported gold, pottery, tools, ivory, leopard skins, ostrich feathers, and elephants. Slaves were also exported. The Kushites imported jewelry and other goods. After a period of about 400 years, the Kushite civilization began to decline. They had used nearly all their natural resources. Most of the trees had been burned as fuel. The savannas were overgrazed, and the cattle herds had diminished. Trade began to dwindle. To the southeast of Kush, in what is Ethiopia today, the Aksum civilization had developed. Eventually, the Aksum people destroyed Meroe and turned over the land of Kush, and took over the land of Kush in A.D. 330. The Kushite kingdom had existed for more than 1,000 years. A long kingdom, but they weren't well known in the world until really more recent times, just because of the in comparison to time itself. But more recent times because of they stayed local. They really didn't do much beyond where their local area was, and it wasn't a large area either. So the Kushite civilization ceased to exist, but God used each civilization for His plan. Egypt was the place where Joseph rose from slavery to second in command to the Pharaoh and provided for the Israelites during a famine. Egypt was the place where Moses became a son to the Pharaoh and leader of the Israelites. God has a special plan for each civilization and person that He has created. All right, so that is your video for today. Tomorrow we will not have a video, or the day after. Tomorrow we'll review. If you wanted to go ahead and do pages 55 and 56, that is basically all the information from pages that you've done already. And you can do that and have it ready for the test for Wednesday. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.